Okay, welcome to Creative Writing Episode 2. Kick back, we're going to talk about a lot of Star Wars stuff. And I have spent some time on this presentation. I've tried to make it organized and visually appealing. So let's start off with your comments. Let me move myself out of the way here. There we go. And CC Gamer LOL said the first 3 minutes, and this is in reference to episode 1. So the first 3 minutes of this video is this is what I want to talk about, and this is what I'm going to do in the future. I already don't care. This is not content. Okay, well, I appreciate the comment. I went back and rewatched it, and it's a rambling mess, and I apologize for that. And this is my attempt to create something that is much more organized, that does show what I want to talk about, does show what I'm doing in the future, but also shows what I've currently done, because I have put a decent amount of work into this so far, and we'll talk about that. I was really excited for the idea, and I just wanted to record something and get it out there, and I realized that I should, when I'm super excited, take a step back and develop a plan. So I took a step back. Here's the plan. I've done a lot of research. Here we go. Also, the format would have been a lot better in live stream, especially if I had a bunch of other Star Wars folks to sit there and chat with. Instead, it was just, me querying things, not very exciting. I'll have a computer soon, a nice badass workstation, and that can actually happen. So we'll get there. And thank you, CC Gamer LOL, for your comment. I'll be sure to reply and link you this video. Let me know what you think. Brotownia says, I didn't expect a personal video response. So that's the last episode. Who started this whole thing by asking me what would I do if I did a Star Wars fan film, and I honestly hadn't thought about it. I had mentioned it just in passing as like something that I could do in the future, and then I actually kind of started getting excited about the idea. And we'll explain why. Brotownia also, suggests that, instead of doing this worrying about doing this big, huge thing, we take a small little section of it, you could do a smaller scale story that simply acknowledges events happening parallel to it. Exactly. But I want to, figure out what all of those parallel events are, because if you have a really good story, you can make two people talking to each other in a room exciting. You don't have to be throwing lightsabers around and stuff every 30 seconds. You can actually have like edge of your seat, like nail biting suspense with just two people talking in the room if you set it up the right way. Fugnuk says that likes the idea. Says this would be sick. Ages ago, I wanted to explore the early years of like pre-Force, or just discovering the Force. And he goes on to talk about this universe idea he had that's more like a Star Wars Mad Max movie, because it's before hyperdrive technology, and I think that's super interesting. That would be really cool to see something that early on in the Star Wars universe. And there's enough stuff in the Star Wars universe, like you can do anything with it. There's so much you can do with the Star Wars universe, and a lot of like Disney has really failed to capitalize on that. They kind of got there a little bit with the Mandalorian, because it was, the first season or two was like a Western in outer space, and that's yes, smart. Yes, do that, right? And you can switch up the different genres. I'm still waiting for them to come out with like a cyberpunk. You could kind of argue Rogue One was like that, but maybe. Anyway, so Fug says that he's an absolute sucker for this kind of stuff, and I get it. I've been doing some research, and I went back and I saw some of the Star Wars The Old Republic CGI videos, and you should go check out the comments in those. The comments are like, oh wow, this 6-minute video has more character development and awesomeness in it than the last 3 movies did, and I tend to agree. Also, Fug, if you can go check out his channel. I'll put a link in the description below. I'll try to find that video of him getting what's called shred time in on his guitar. I forgot what he started out with, but he segued into I think it was like a Doom 2016 riff. It sounded pretty good, and I like to sing, so maybe Fug and I can work together to make some music. I've always wanted to do metal versions of country songs, So, Fug, check out if you're watching this, check out the Thunder Rolls by Garth Brooks. There's an extended version with 3 verses. It starts out with like an acoustic guitar. So think about, maybe we do want to start out with the acoustic and then, bring the guitar, the metal guitar, into it. Or maybe we want to start out with the metal guitar and kind of get like a thrash, complex rhythm going with like all the distortion and stuff instead of starting out with the clean acoustic. I don't know. Let's mess around. Let's see what we can do. Tell me what you think. I'll send you a message. All right. So why am I excited? Okay. So AI, artificial intelligence, is allowing me to do the work of multiple people and departments. It's like working with AI is like being in a room with 10 other writers that are all excited and only want to offer constructive criticism. It's like having like an entire team dedicated to lore resources to make sure that things are adhering to established canon and maintain continuity. And then it's also a team of graphics designers that makes a bunch of artwork, which is the stuff that I'll point out as this presentation goes along. So take Hollywood or Disney, it would take like 30 people to do the work that I've done here in this slide presentation. And this is just like a pitch for like for like a pilot, basically is where we're at. But or maybe a pilot, or maybe like a novel or something like that, because I'm really big into story. So I'm going for story first, and then from that let's develop like a little pilot or a little episode from that. I'm enjoying the enthusiasm everybody has for it. Like Fug thinks it's a great idea. I've got a bunch of personal IRL friends I've talked to about it, and they were super excited. And it's fun because I got some really hardcore Star Wars fans, and they're excited about the idea. They're like, oh, that'd be really cool. Yeah. So I really feed off of that excitement. I think it's great. And then I think I can do a better job than Disney. I'll put the link to this this Forbes magazine article in the description. It was posted on a little while ago. And just a week or two ago, and just 3 days ago, at the time of this video, and basically Disney hasn't covered the cost of buying Lucasfilm, and that's just crazy to me. That's just crazy to me that you couldn't make your money back on Star Wars. Like it's got to be the number one screw up in all of the entertainment industry. I can't think, like, it's like the Marvels thing, at least they were successful at that, and then it fell apart. But oh man, yeah, it's just wild to me. And the other reason I'm excited is because of this thing called Zone of a Proximal Gain. So I've already talked about how I want to do Warhammer 40k stuff, but when I think about how to do, I want to do it for a lot of reasons. I'm a fan. I think it'll be challenging, but I also think at this point it'll be a little too challenging. It's easy to do Star Wars stuff because you just got a lightsaber and some armor, but like, and robes and stuff. But then you try to do Warhammer 40k, everything's so baroque. Like think of what the uniform for an Imperial Navy admiral looks like for the Sith Empire. Okay, now think about what one looks like for the Imperium, and that's. Yeah, so the Imperial, the Warhammer Imperial costumes, so much more baroque and has so much more detail to it, that it would cost so many more resources to pull off correctly. So I need to kind of upskill myself, and that's why I'm excited. So the Zone of Proximal Gain, to get better at stuff, you can't do something too easy because that doesn't challenge you. You don't learn anything, and you can't do something too hard because you just can't fucking do it because it's too hard. You need to do something that's there's this zone of a proximal gain where it's just hard enough that you're challenged and you can get it done and you can learn stuff. And I think that's where my brain and video production capabilities are at, is that the zone of proximal gain for me is to do a Star Wars project to upskill writing, cinematography, choreography, music production, especially all the stuff. Because as I think about doing it, the things that I think I need to do, it seems attainable to me. It's like, oh, you could do that, or you could. It's within your price range to hire somebody on Fiverr to do that for you or something. Uh, oh, also, and I'm watching the Legends canon, so I'm on like the first season of the Clone Wars because a friend of mine was really excited for Ahsoka, and I was watching Ahsoka, and I got like the third episode, and I just like, I don't, why the fuck, why do I care? So I was talking to my friend about it, like, who are these people? And he's like, he basically explains that Ahsoka is like the extension of the Clone Wars story, so that's why I didn't really understand the context of everything going on, and it's done by the same guy, Dave Filoni. And that's okay. Like if if that's the type of thing that you want to make, where it's going to be for the fans who've already seen all of your stuff, okay. But it's not very welcoming to people like me that haven't seen all or know all of this knowledge, because I'm finding it hard to be invested in the characters, because there's not a lot of character development. So they did all the character development in the Clone Wars, and then you're supposed to have watched all that, and then you watched the Ashoka, and then it all fits together. So I'm watching all this first to see, because watching Ahsoka right now, I'm not too impressed, but I figure I watch all this and then see how it tacks on and look at the body of work as a whole, and I'm sure I'll enjoy it more than I did. At least that's what my friend said to do. And I'll also check out Star Wars Rebels. Okay, all right. So like I said, I've done my research. Been doing it. We'll continue to do it. It's going to be within the Legends canon, right? Because that's going to be the challenge, and that's the thing that everybody's the story and stuff that people are invested in, and they know and love. And I'm going to try to do all new characters and plot lines. So I don't. I mean, I'll mention. The already established characters and stuff, maybe as like a historical, political, or like a mythical figure. But I'm not going to presume to take already established characters and give them actions. I'm not trying to like carve my own thing out. I'm trying to like pour water on top of it and just fill in the gaps, basically. All right, so this is the working title. I'll talk about. I want to give it kind of a little bit of an intro. I'll play just a tiny little bit of music, and then I'll flip it over to the to the title screen, and then I'll start chatting again. But if you're not looking at your screen, just watching this, go ahead and look at your screen real quick, and then just let me know what you think. So here we go. Turn the volume up. Oh. It has the an opposite ethos, but there's also certain overlap. You can't. The Sith Empire has certain principles of their principles of civility are different, but they are civilized in a way. And then same thing with the Galactic Republic. Because you can't have an empire if the empire doesn't work together in some way. So I want to be able to, show what the strengths of that philosophy and drawbacks of the strengths and weaknesses of each drawback and philosophy. Okay, yeah. So characteristics of the peer. Let me just put me up here. There we go. Yeah, so the strategic stalemate. Nobody's sure who could win a hot war, so nobody wants to start one. Which can also influence behavior too. Like some of the more, you can have the characters that are like pushing the envelope, trying to start the war, and then you got the other characters that dial it back and placate. And then you've got all of the espionage and the shadow wars. Like this elite unit goes to this research facility and destroys everything and steals the research, and then there's like retaliation against that, yada yada. Oh, but we're not at war, They're both evenly matched, so it'll be interesting to there's not one big overall. These are like, how the Empire is large and in charge in A New Hope, and like the Rebels are like the small little ragtag thing. Like it's different. It's like both sides are equally matched, and that means things play out a little bit different. There can actually be negotiations because they don't want it to get to open violence yet, right? and then lots of tension and high stakes and things like that. I've thought of a lot of. I'm a big history buff, and I've thought of a lot of different things that have happened in history. Good inspiration for plot lines in this setting. And then, oh, excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Oh. All right, and we're back. Yeah, so all different types of narratives. You can do the spy plot line. It's like a James Bond kind of deal. You got the proxy wars. You can't have your big battles and firefights and stuff. It's not all just shadow wet work kind of stuff. Assassins. You could have the elite unit going after the research facility, like I said. Strategic alliances. So you've got all these different factions, on both sides. You got like the Dark Council and the way they operate, and they're making all these alliances to, push their side of the agenda. And then you've got all the politicking on the Republic side, which is more like democratic or has aspects of democracy to it, because they have to take into account what the regular citizenry worries about and perceives, whereas the Dark Council don't give a damn. You know what I mean? So we do two different things, and then the way they interact with the factions and stuff that are on their side, on the opposing alliances side, and the ones that are always in the middle, like the smugglers and the war profiteers and the weapons manufacturers and all that kind of stuff. Economic warfare. So I talked about that in the first episode. Like, I think I'm trying to imagine if I'm a member of the Dark Council on the Sith Empire and I want to weaken the Republic, what do I do? And my mind instantly goes to opium wars. So there's no opium in Star Wars, but they just call it spice. So spice wars. Oops. What? I mean, hold on. What am I doing? There we go. Okay, yeah. Public sentiment and propaganda. So I find it interesting how in this narrative setting, people can be influenced by propaganda. You can have the normal folk on both sides just completely misunderstand each other simply because of the propaganda. And you can explore, you can put the two different characters together that have been heavily influenced by propaganda in the room together, and then they got to work together, and then they find out that things aren't what they seem, and that'd be so interesting. That would be great. I think it would be just to see how that unfolds in the writing. So I'm setting up I'm all of this setting so we can set all the pieces all over the board and flick the dominoes over and see what happens. Like I said, I'm putting some thought into this. Okay, so the antagonist. So one of the things that I've always wanted them to, like, establish the Force stuff a little bit more. So it looks like they have. I don't know all this stuff because I haven't seen the extended universe until now. So there is a character like that, and she's Abeloth, bringer of chaos, and she's supposed to be this evil. Once kind and nurturing character who couldn't let go and let nature take its course, and because of that, went and fell over to the dark side. And there's a lot of themes like that in Star Wars of not being able to let go and holding on so tight that you destroy the thing you love. Or it slips away from you. So I know that this character is like contained within a place called the Maw during this time period, but that doesn't mean that she still can't be the antagonist. And I'll explain that later. And then the other thing that I'm putting some effort into is the rules of the Force. So. From a writing perspective, J.R.R. Tolkien when Gandalf uses magic, it's for them to get out of a tight spot, and he doesn't really explain how it happened. It's just, that's just the style and the sign of the times and stuff that he was writing to do that. But I have really enjoyed. There's an author called Brandon Sanderson, and he's got a couple different. He's got tons of work out there. He's got a series called the Stormlight Archive, and I really respect and like it. I kind of fell off after like the 5th or 6th book, but I don't know how many are out there now, or maybe like the 4th book. I think there's 5 or 6 books out now, and I've gotten up to like the 4th or the 5th. But the thing that I like about the setting is there's all these magical powers and stuff, but the rules are laid out, so they have to. There ends up being like clever usage of the mechanics basically, and it enriches the story instead of just the character needs to get out of this bad spot, so they wave their magic wand and they're out of the bad spot. It's like no, the character has an ice spell and uses the ice spell cleverly to escape. So that's where I'm going with this. And just put some thought into it. These are not all of the. I've got spreadsheets now. I've got like Google Docs and lists of stuff. But just to spell out the way I'm laying out the force. You've got neutral, because there's any of the force users are going to be able to do this. They can block they can block the laser blasts with the lightsaber, and then. There's like what was it in Empire Strikes Back? Like Vader just holds up his hand and stops the shots from coming in, and then grabs the pistol out of Han's hand. Okay, so that's doable. Probably by Vader's super powerful, so that means probably Yoda could do it. And then there's, now that the technology, the visual effects and stuff are there, they can actually freeze the blaster bolt in time. They couldn't do that back in the 1970s. I mean, you can do it now. Just freezing it and, letting it go out of the way, and then freezing it and redirecting it. Like, that's another tier. So I'm kind of spelling all this out and assigning basically character sheets to these to the characters that I'm developing. And then once I have all this set up and I start writing the characters, I'll do exploratory writing. So I'm doing the outline. So from a writing perspective, I'm getting the setting and everything down first, and then I'll get the characters and their abilities and the rules and stuff all figured out, and then I'll do exploratory writing after figuring out an outline of how I want the overall arc of the story to go. And I should make a very big arc and then do what Lucas did and just focus on a little part of it. So trade-offs matter. So there are certain advantages and disadvantages to being on either sect. The light side doesn't have access to force lightning or force choke. So what else don't they have access to, basically? I'm also interested, exploring the lore. Like sometimes the Jedi, they're big on making oaths and adhering to them and stuff, and sometimes those oaths prevent them from taking an efficient course of action, or maybe even the wrong course of action, because they're bound by the oath, and due to their ethos they can't deviate from it, or some can't. Or if they do, they get chastised, and it makes perfect sense, and everything turns out okay. They get chastised for it anyway. There's opportunity for little plot lines and stuff there, and I'm setting things up again to explore that. And the light side has a bunch of different powers. One of those is I wrote this down. I started laughing, write it down. It's like I haven't seen any of the Sith people die and come back as a space ghost, but apparently that is a list of I was making lists of things the light side can do that the dark side can't. I was like, well, they can die and come back. Just tickled me. Thought that was funny. Uh, oh, and then I read a while ago. I read like I think the first, maybe even the second Darth Bane novel, and in there they talk about like the Jedi that or like Jedi of the Twilight because the war's been going on so long and they're so bitter that they end up doing or doing some dark side things because it's think of like the dirty cop uh, uh, plot lines where they've worked too vice too long, and now some of the grimes rubbing off on them, and they're not the upbeat, uh, um, enthusiastic, idealistic cop they were when things first started. It's the same thing could happen with the Jedi. Um, and then, like I was saying earlier, the Sith Empire, like they're not just going to kill everybody. Like, well, why would I kill this person if I could have a use for them? They're pragmatic, and this is well before the rule of two. Um, so there will probably be certain maybe there's certain abilities that people that are like or force users that are in this state can do, and then talking about like the ethos as far as I can, and again, this is for like the high level mythical kind of mysteries of the Force plot line, layers of things, mysteries of the Force, politics, fractions, characters within factions, layering it all together. Everything that I've consumed, it doesn't like the only person that I can see that maybe had been both light and dark at the same time is the father. Um, I don't like they're either one or the. I mean, you can come back. There's plenty of characters that went dark side and came back, and plenty of characters that went light side and went dark. And maybe one or two of them went back and forth a few times. I think, if memory serves. But I don't think there's ever been one that's both at the same time. So maybe this can be like an ideal in that some of the characters are striving for is they actually want to be able to not be Twilight, which is different. Like they understand, they know what the neutral, dark, light side and Twilight side is, but nobody can figure out how to do both at the same time. So I could explore that, and this is a link to my spreadsheet. Well, here, let's take a look real quick. I'm gonna show you guys. Here, there we go. This is just me beginning to put my lists of stuff together, and I think doing this preparation work is going to enrich this story in many different ways. Same thing. All right, so I'm trying. These are the stuff that I'm talking about now. Is I've done my research, and now I'm trying to flesh out and populate things, and we're talking about the mythical mysteries of the Force plot line, which is going to be the overall thing, because Abeloth is the antagonist, and in that ethos or the story, she I think it was like drank from the fountain of power and bathed in the pool of knowledge, or maybe she bathed in the pool of knowledge and drank from the fountain of power. But both of those things are liquid. So there could be other light side and dark side and maybe Twilight side of the holy, unholy, neutral places where a certain type of maybe it's not a fountain of power, maybe it's a cistern of pain. That sounds fucking cool. I'm gonna write that down. Cistern of pain. I'll remember that. Yeah. So yeah, and then what do you do with like this liquid Force power, basically? What could the Sith Empire's military R&D division do with that stuff? We're gonna figure this out. So I'm gonna have these these sources of power where there's this certain type of liquid, and it'll have uses, and then or in dangers and stuff like that. And then there's also the locations where the veil is thin, like when Luke went to go confront himself, and I forget the quote. God, it's been so long. It's like, is there danger in there? It's like, only what you take with you. So there'll be places like that. All right, so since Abeloth is in the mall, imprisoned in the mall, I'm developing these things called Abeloth Shards. Okay, and they could be light side, dark side, Twilight. This is going to be like my fan-made version of Star Wars, like angels, demons, nature spirits, etc. So there can be. Let's take a look. Yeah, and I've done it all off of like I've created. I probably won't use all of these, definitely not. But I'm thinking of all of the different what are emotions and behaviors that are part of the Force that could be distilled into a avatar of that emotion or behavior. So ambition is kind of neutral, but then there's things that wouldn't be, like wrath, envy, pride. So I'm still developing this idea, but these are the things that will be manipulating, or like some people will think they'll be using these things, and then at the end we can find out that this is all part of Abeloth's grand plan or something to do whatever evil world-ending thing she's gonna do. Still developing that idea, but very excited. And then magic. So how is magic different from the Force? I went and did some research, and it seems like all sources, there's not like any type of source of power that is separate from the Force, but the people that are like witches and sorcerers and warlocks and stuff who aren't Sith or Jedi, they're just tapping into the Force and using it like unorthodox ways. So there could be like this backwater planet that the Jedi and the Sith never go to, but you've got a decent amount of Force users there, and they've kind of developed their own way of using the Force. So they would be considered like a mythical. That would be considered magic or sorcery or what have you. And then the Sith themselves, they've got a lot more kind of sorcerous stuff, but it's got to be accomplished by these big rituals. So I've got to think about like, well, what is the ritualistic magic Force powers that are used on each side, and which ones are neutral. So I'm figuring that out. And then also the reason that I'm doing this is just because I don't want everybody to think, oh, Sith and Jedi, because they're equally powerful, that the Sith and Jedi are equally powerful, and they're like at the top of the power structure. So I want to be able to switch it up a bit and get folks to not be certain of that. So it's like, oh, is this warlock or is this sorcerer more powerful than this Jedi or this Sith? Who knows? Keep them guessing. Okay, so currently in development, I'm fleshing out. I've got the setting figured out. I just need to continue to check to make sure that the year period that I picked makes sense. But the Old Republic period spanned like 24,000 years. I'm sure I can find a period that isn't that doesn't have a ton of detail that I can fill into. So figure out the characters, and because this is a big political espionage Cold War kind of thing, you need to establish all of the different factions in addition to those characters, what the characters' ethos and driving things are. I noticed that as I was watching the Clone Wars, is that they've got most of like the battles have the same type of droid, so you can look at a droid and know its name and basically what it does. So there needs to be a bunch of common droids like that in this setting that you can just look at and know it's that thing and that's that capability. It's not going to be the same droids that are, how many ever tens of thousands of years later. So we've got to develop a whole set of those droids, and some of those are rare or more powerful, like the destroyer droids are in Clone Wars. Same thing with, I love how it's made. I could just watch that for forever. And I always thought that there's more opportunity for showing how things are constructed or how they work in the Star Wars universe. So definitely putting together a list of all like the different building materials. There's like metals that can interrupt the plasma blade of a lightsaber. So that's cool. Let's figure that out. Let's see here. Yeah, gather list of Force abilities, which is what I'm doing because I don't want the Force to just be a get out of jail free card. Developing the overall strategic and political landscape. And then from a like cinematography perspective, make lists of, well, what emotions, tones, and themes all need to go together so you have continuity across, the different scenes, and you can, just go to a scene and look at, the way it's kind of constructed and know, or get certain consistent feelings with those visual elements. And then there needs to be all kinds of like legendary secret weapons, ships, and knowledge and shrines and stuff. So there's got to be the things that people are going after that that they think is going to tip or maintain the balance of power, right? So working on all that, and then I'm also working on my Doom music video. And then if Fug wants to, maybe we'll make some music together. The Doom music video is taking some time. I'm spending 2 or 3 hours on it a day, and it'll probably just be that way for the next week or two. It's just taking a long time, but I like the way it's coming along. I'm just not doing it as quick as I wanted to, but it's still in the wings. Oh yeah, and this has been fun because I've been putting all this stuff together, and I remember thinking like I was the quote, Palpatine quote came to mind. Everything that has transpired has done so according to my design. See, that was pretty good. I can hear myself with the headphones on. I think that was pretty good. Okay, so roadmap. We talked about this at a high level. Setting the Force. These are the plot layers, right? The Force, like we talked about, the Republic and the Empire, internal politics, then the characters and what their themes and arches are, and the cinematography side of it. How am I going to represent what things in this, visuals and music? Probably music tone is going to be a big thing too. And then what's the ability of magical system, so we can have rules and people use those rules cleverly, which will enrich the story instead of they use the like George Lucas did at the beginning of the Phantom Menace, like where Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon like use force speed to get out of the way, and then they never use force speed again. They never used it again. Would have come in handy, a little bit later in the movie. When those gates were opening and closing, you could have. Anyway, so all right, so we get all this established, right? And this is part of the writing exercise. So we do all that, and then we'll pick a portion of it, and then carve out how we're going to do a shoot, basically. Pick a character, scene, story that can move to production. And then the goal will be to do more than just one of those. If I'm going to spend the time to get a bunch of equipment together and get some actors and costumes and all that kind of crap together, I better be shooting more than just one scene. Or maybe we need to start with just one scene, because I've never done anything this complex before, but I want to. I've seen enough video making stuff, and I've done enough myself that I'm ready. Actually craft the props, costume set, actor script, execute video productions plan. Yeah. So we'll get there. And doing this is upskilling, so I can then do some Warhammer stuff. But I'm a big I want to be respectful of the Legends lore. I know a lot of people really love it, and I want to do it justice. This is a link to, let's just take a look real quick. These are my scratch notes. Got almost 3,000 words of scratch notes, and me just going, oh, this would be cool. Let's do this. Let's do that. Blah 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 blah. Stick around. More to come on that. And thank you. Thanks for watching. I hope this was a lot better organized. I hope the presentation was better and it wasn't rambling too much. and that this gave you folks a much better idea of the thing that I want to do, and the work that I've put into it so far, and the work that I plan to put into it. So please like the video. Make sure the little subscribe bell works. I think that's the only way people, or based off your comments, I think that's the only way people are knowing that I'm putting videos out again. So let your friends know. Send them a link. Maybe, hey, Nex is back. He's trying to do some writing stuff. Hopefully he keeps doing it. I plan on keeping doing it. I really, I got to do something besides just bust my ass at work all day, and I want to be able to put all my creativity and stuff to use. And this is the way. So yeah, give me some comments. Tell me what you think. Your folks' excitement, like Fug posting, Brutalia posting, even the constructive criticism left by CC Gamer. Please, comment. Let me know what you think. How do you like the presentation? What are some of the gripes that you have about Star Wars that I can try to account for? Like, stormtroopers couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. Stormtroopers couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, and that's kind of a trope at this point. What are one of my gripes is sometimes they just use the Force as a get out of jail free card because they couldn't think of a clever way to write the character out of that situation. That's one of my gripes. So what are some of yours? Let me know, and I'm putting together a list, checking it twice, and tune in next time to see who's naughty or nice.